Good evening, creatures of the night. I am Violet Nocturne, and beneath this veil of shadows, I cradle another tale from the depths of the abyss. Tonight, let's step into the haunting world of music. But be warned, this symphony doesn't end with applause. It ends with silence and terror. Our tale begins with Julian Roth, a celebrated composer known for his eccentricity and breathtaking symphonies. Julian was a man who believed that music should capture the very essence of life itself, the joy, the heartbreak, and the inevitable embrace of the void. But his latest masterpiece, titled The Requiem of Eternity, would become his downfall. Julian lived alone in a sprawling, decaying estate, perched atop Widow's Crest, its silhouette clawing at the skies like a monstrous skeletal hand. For months, passers-by would hear eerie, discordant melodies escaping from the manor, weaving through the mist like ghostly whispers. Yet no one dared disturb the genius at work. Not even his closest friends were allowed entry while he composed this magnum opus. Julian had discovered an ancient, weathered manuscript, an incomplete score said to summon the spirits of deceased musicians. It had no title, only a cryptic note: "Finish this and earn eternity." The manuscript was found hidden in a casket of a long-forgotten crypt during one of Julian's obsessively indulgent research expeditions into forbidden lore. Its melody instantly consumed him. He played its fragments for hours, rearranging the notes, imagining those spirits guiding his hand. But as he worked tirelessly, something changed. Though brilliant, Julian became increasingly erratic. His once sharp green eyes grew sunken, his cheeks hollowed, as if the life was being composed right out of him. Neighbors began to report hearing more than just melodies at night. They swore they heard shrieks, a cacophony of anguish layered beneath the music whenever Julian played his grand Steinway piano. Yet curiosity only whispered, "Let the maestro be." Who were they to question genius? With each passing day, Julian became more obsessed, trapped in an abyss of anguished notes and frightening orchestrations. Shadows stretched unnaturally inside his home, creeping and twisting with the melody. His housekeeper, Esme, a pragmatic older woman, became increasingly alarmed, but she unresolvedly dismissed it as her own paranoia. One afternoon, amid the drafts of parchment stained with ink and sweat, Esme glimpsed a figure, a translucent violinist whose head swayed to the mournful dirge, hovering faintly in the candlelight. "The spirits are guiding me," Julian whispered when Esme dared to ask. "They demand their duet." Esme's alarm was veiled into resignation after that encounter. After all, Julian dismissed her words as nothing more than human frailty, misunderstanding the beauty of his process. Then came the day Julian completed the first movement of his composition. The air within the manor grew heavier, colder. The staff refused to continue working, claiming shadows twisted into shapes of torment, hinting faces and limbs were visible in the mirrors. Julian was undeterred. With trembling hands, weary from sleep deprivation, he played the opening movement, pouring unwavering concentration into the piano keys. That was the moment Julian realized he wasn't playing alone. Around midnight, as the finale neared its completion, an orchestra of spectral musicians materialized behind him. He turned to see violins, cellos, horns, and harps, all held by glowing figures wreathed in semi-visible torment. They emitted a harmony so tragic and divine that Julian couldn't fathom stopping. The conductor, faceless save for pits of glowing crimson where eyes should be, emerged with skeletal hands to guide the ensemble. For hours, Julian played beneath their guidance, but his movements began to falter, his vitality seeping into the harrowing music. The melody consumed the house. The walls began to bleed the score, not ink, but deep crimson stains. Still, Julian smiled, tears streaming, arrested by the irresistible beauty of creation. As dawn broke, a knock on the creaking manor doors interrupted the performance. It was Julian's closest friend and fellow musician, Margot Wilde, whom he hadn't seen in months. Alarmed by his deterioration, Margot begged, "Julian, come with me. You're killing yourself. What's happening here isn't right." Julian barely turned from his piano, his voice hollow. "The spirits guide me. I will finish the Requiem, even if it takes my last breath. Music captures our eternity, Margot. Listen to them. The lonely symphony." The specters played louder to silence Margot, their symphony clawing into her thoughts like icy gashes. She collapsed to her knees, her hands pressed tightly against her ears, tears streaming down her face as the alien strains began rearranging the natural rhythm of her own heartbeat. Margot's scream broke the spell, silencing the orchestra. Julian turned. For a moment, his friend's desperation fought valiantly with his possessed determination. Together, she and Julian burned the cursed manuscript on a makeshift pyre in the fireplace. But as it burned, the spirits howled like banshees, and the room shook violently, much like Julian's resolve. "Margot!" Julian gasped, his voice frail. "I can't feel..." As the manuscript incinerated and their dreadful performance was interrupted, Julian collapsed. The spirits erupted in fury, melting away as the light of dawn shattered their grip on reality. But Julian stirred briefly, his lifeless fingers barely weakly twitching to mimic playing piano keys, even as he lay dying. Margot held him. "It's over, Julian," she whispered. "You're free." His eyes stared hazily upward. "Margot, it was beautiful. Eternity is too loud." And those words became his final note. Julian didn't survive the day. When Margot looked away for just a moment, his body crumbled into pale ash, leaving behind only the faint outline of a fallen composer's shadow, etched permanently scorched into the floorboards. Someone undoubtedly left, though the spectral orchestra, the final players at the converging edge of genius and madness, swore Margot heard lingering strings haunting the edges of her reality with every subsequent note she ever composed from then onward. So, my darlings, next time your playlist gives you chills, beware. The echo hasn't ended yet. Until next time, Lena. Violet mentions, ask, eatably fade, remains genius fragments, irony, mortal visitations, betrayals lace. Forget self. Anyway who, spectral haunt, demanding final blackos. No, asking beyond film, repeating clearest goosebump, darkest pain,